on the other way.
So
Yeah,
one of
you got it.
these, in a very compact, small, lightweight package, has everything you need in a basic solar system, minus the panel. And in a minute here, we'll show you there are options with most of these that you can connect a panel. So this is a way for those of you, especially with a smaller vehicle like a Jeep or a van or a Prius, to have a full solar setup for a reasonable cost that will fit in your vehicle, that is almost indestructible, and that is resellable if you want to move forward into the future. I would say definitely look these up if you have a smaller vehicle, guys, because they are a really, really great way to get your foot in the door with solar energy, with renewable energy in general, and to approach living in a vehicle in a way that is not going to end you up with $1,000 worth of crap that's either broken or doesn't work with your setup. So these power generators in them have a lithium battery, they have an inverter, they have USB ports, they have DC ports, and some of them now even have wireless charging for your cell phone, and they will continue to expand. So basically any appliance that you want to power can be powered by one of these little guys, and they scale up the line as well, from very small to much bigger. And I'm going to turn it off to Mr. Jimmy so he can describe the sizes to you.
Okay, so we have a lot of different sizes, and every year they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. The largest we have here right now is the 540 watt Rockpals. A lot of people ask me, why do I need a portable power station? And besides the obvious that it's a great idea for newbies who don't want to invest in the full system and have holes drilled in your roof and all this stuff, even if you do have a full system, how many of you have been camping someplace with your solar and suddenly you get like 3 days of clouds and your solar tanks? So you got one of these put up in the back, and you got a little bit of an extra battery bank. And of course they're lithium, so you can use them all the way down. You can take them with you different places. Usually we have different things out here that will hook up, and we have a couple things we'll show you today. Let me go through the different sizes here. A lot of people see these and they think it's a battery jump starting pack. It's not a battery jump starting pack, but I'm sure you guys all remember those big, bulky battery jump starting packs. Today, a battery jump starting pack is this small. And this is also a charger and a phone thing. We also have this is technically a power bank, even though it's a work light, because it'll recharge your phone. But then as we go up in size, we've got the 300 watt here, which so the smallest one is the 160, and they go all the way up as of now to the 500. This is the 300, there's a 330, they have a 100 watt panel, an 80 watt panel. I brought the 80 watt panel today because I like the fact that it has legs. They don't all have legs. With the companies we have here, we don't yet, but there are other companies like Blue Eddy that I think they go all the way up to 1500 right now with a LifePro 4. Yeah. And Jackery's got some big ones. So we're just discussing the sizes of the ones we have here, but you're right. They do get much bigger. I'm knocking everything over. Okay. Let's see here. I think I just went through them. So we've got everything from the 160 all the way up to the 500 and bigger ones that we don't actually have here to show anybody right now, but they're getting bigger every year and they're learning from their mistakes. Like this one here, the first time I tried one of these, it didn't charge fast enough. So the companies are listening as we go. They want feedback from us. They want to know what we want. They're over there in China in an office, and they have no idea what we need. So feedback for these companies is always appreciated, even if, they don't hear you right away. They are listening. And you can see with the improvements, they've started adding USB-C in and out. So it's not just USB-C out. They started adding Quick Charge 3.0 to a lot of these. They started adding wireless charging to the top. Every year they improve a little bit, and the way they improve is by listening to us and listening to things like this, and we'll probably do some questions at the end too. But maybe we can get some new feedback from that.
So what can it do? What can the different sizes do? Starting off with the 160, and you'll typically find that lithium packs are not even numbers, they're really oddball numbers. Starting with the 160, that'll be good for charging a cell phone, for charging a laptop, for running maybe one of those small portable DVD players or a small similar size screen, tablet, etc., etc. You would be surprised at what they can run. This one will even run my air compressor. We have a full-size air compressor that can run air tools, and it will run it, but it will not run it for that long. So on any of these, you can pretty much run whatever you want off of them within reason. Again, not a welder. But the question is, how much time can you run your appliances for? So you have the 160 here, which say I have a 50-watt MacBook, which I actually have right behind me, and about full charge, watching some YouTube videos, charging the battery, that puppy will draw around 50 or 60 watts. So what you can do to determine the size of battery that you need is just divide the watts by the watts of your appliance by the watts of the unit, and then calculate it out in hours, because wattage is actually measured in hours. It's watts per hour. So if I have a 60-watt MacBook and I have a 160-watt power station, we have any math geniuses out here? About 3 hours? About 3 hours is what I'm looking at. Maybe a little bit less. Maybe a little bit more. I'm getting points in both directions from people here. So the way you could really do that is 60 watts per hour times 3 is going to be 180 watts. If it's a 160 watt battery pack, it's going to die a little bit before that 3 hour mark. So what I'm getting at is you can look at the back of any device and you can see what its maximum power draw is, then divide your lithium power pack by that number, and it'll tell you how long you can run that device for. And the way that you want to size yourself for a lithium battery pack is to ask yourself how many hours per night you need to run your appliance. So if I need to run my MacBook for 3 hours and it takes 60 watts of power, a 160 watt system is not going to be enough for me, but that 300 watt will. And so, long story short, the point I'm trying to make there is, just like with solar, bigger is not always better. As you get bigger with these, they will take up more space in your rig. They will also take much longer to charge. So you may not end up having a unit that you're able to fully charge. So the best way to go about sizing the lithium power packs is to look on the back of your devices, calculate out your usage, and see what unit size you need.
He totally reminded me of something I'll have to jump ahead here. When it comes to calculating the life of your power station, as I was saying earlier, these companies are actually listening to us and they're trying to improve every new generation. The Rockpals 500 actually has an hour estimator built into it to let you know how much time you approximately have left. So you can literally plug something in, like this little 250 watt ceramic heater on a 500 watt power station. I'm gonna guess we'll get a couple hours. It has a 50 watt charge, so let me see what it'll tell us here. I mean, not a 50 watt, a 50% charge.
I wish that thing would charge it up.
Huh?
I wish that thing would charge those up.
Yeah, I know. I have 2 little space heaters at home, and I can run 2 of them off of this one, but that eats the power twice as fast. If anybody's curious, you can come up and feel the heat coming out of this, but according to this, and one thing they do, you guys know what a kilowatt meter is? A kilowatt meter is a device that helps you determine how much power your devices are taking. You plug it into a standard wall outlet, you plug your device in, and you look at it, and it tells you, okay, I'm drawing 40 watts, I'm drawing 80 watts, 200 watts, so on and so forth. So right now we have this little 250 watt heater running off of the Rockpals 500. And according to this, we have 261 minutes of runtime with a 65% charge, no, a 50% charge, drawing only 66 watts. That's why it's giving me, that's actually hours, sorry. This isn't as big as I thought it was, but that's even better. The smaller heater, the longer you can run it. And if you're running something like this for a heater, which isn't really the best use, but you can warm up a small space like a van or a motorhome. I have a 250 watt power station, a little bit smaller than this, and I'll get about an hour and a half with one of my 250 watt power stations. So I won't run it constant. I'll run it for like a half hour in the morning, and then I'll do it for like 15 minutes at night just to take the edge off in my place. Shut it off, turn it back on for another 15 minutes, and then do the same thing the next morning before going and charging again. So that's what I wanted to say.
So, what are the advantages and disadvantages of lithium? Rhetorical question, I'm about to answer it, haha. The big advantage that you can get out of one of these power packs is the lithium technology, which quite simply can't be destroyed like lead acid batteries can. It's a really unfortunate thing that I see a lot on the road is people going gung-ho and getting a lot of solar and forgetting one connection, and next thing you know, 3 or 4 days later, your battery is down at 10.9 and your $400 set of Trojan batteries just became a $50 piece of junk. It's really unfortunate. Lead batteries can be very, very, very unforgiving, especially in the wintertime. It's a big surprise to many when they come down here and their 200 watts of solar was quite perfect back in July, and then come January, they can't even charge their laptop up at 8 o'clock at night. A lithium will prevent that. They don't take chronic damage from being undercharged. They don't take damage from being left at half charge. They don't take as much damage from temperature extremes. It's still something you have to be careful about, but not nearly as much. So in terms of resilience, quite simply for our applications, you can't kill them. So it is an investment that you won't murder in 6 months, and that is even resellable afterwards, because you're looking at between 3,000 and 5,000 charge cycles here, which is average expectancy of maybe 5 years on one of these power packs. By the time you hit 2-3 years, it's going to have a whole lot of life left in it, and it's not going to be at 50% of its charge like a lead battery would. So in terms of an investment, starting out on the road, they're a wonderful idea. And expanding into your future as well, I buy a lithium power pack and then I go install solar, is it useless? I would say no, because this can actually be brought to a campfire. If I want to run a projector out in the campsite with my friends and watch a movie, it's fantastic. I would encourage you all to do it. That's something that a lithium power generator can enable you to do. If you want to run karaoke out in the desert, if you are a mechanic like me and you run over a job and you need to run some floodlights at 8 p.m. and you don't want to murder your battery bank because you want to listen to some music afterwards, they are a good extra source of energy to have, and they're also compatible with all of the things that you already have in your van or in your RV. So one of these power stations can be charged with solar, it can be charged with AC off a regular household outlet or a generator, or it can be charged directly off of DC, off of one of those barrel plugs, or just literally hooking it up directly to your existing battery pack. So you can charge them by any means that you have existing. So if I'm running my generator, I can charge up my power pack. If it's in the middle of the day and my solar has already charged up my batteries, I can use the extra to charge my power pack. Maybe I just have too many freaking power packs. Well, maybe I can let my house batteries charge and use the power pack to go off into the woods and go make some YouTube videos on my MacBook. That's another thing that it can do as well. Actually, honestly, for me, the biggest advantage I've seen from having a lithium power pack myself is being able to go off into spaces that I wouldn't be able to go otherwise and work. In addition to doing YouTube, I'm also a web designer. I'm on my laptop many hours per day on an average day. And with a table and a chair and the power station, I can go set up far away from the campsite down by the river, enjoy some nature and some birds and my dogs, and not have anybody bother me, but still have essentially a home away from home. So those are the big advantages of what a power station can do. The quick cons, of which there are not many that I would warn you about, is they don't last long and they do take a long time to charge. So they are something that you have to plan for if you're living with them. You can't charge one of these up in an hour. It depends on the unit, but typically they'll take between 4 and 6 hours to charge off of AC, and even longer with solar. So it is something you have to think about and regulate your usage with, which is why they're a great thing to think about as an addition to your system and not necessarily as a replacement of your system.
That's another good point. And I totally forgot mine. Sorry, guys. Most of these things, and another example of how they're listening to us as he was talking about the charging on these. It depends on the battery chemistry too. In order to charge a lithium battery, you want to charge it slowly in order to do so safely. Some companies are going to focus more on the safety aspects and they're going to charge it a little more slowly. Some of them are going to focus a little bit less on the safety and a little bit more on pleasing the user, and they'll charge a little bit faster. But all of them are going to charge kind of slow. And they'll also charge at different rates depending on what kind of device you use. If you're charging through your wall outlet, most of them will charge the fastest through your wall outlet, or possibly your DC on your house. A solar panel is a great option too. And one of the things I like about these solar panels, and the reason I brought this one, all of the Rockpals solar panels are compatible with all the other brands of power stations. So if you're not sure what brand of power station you want to go with, it might be a good idea to get a solar panel that has all the adapters and you can change or upgrade, go to something else later. Sorry. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. Does anybody have any questions? It's probably too early for that, but I need to waste a minute. Yes?
I'm wondering, I have a 240 Jackery.
Yes, I'm real familiar with that.
What would be the maximum solar panel wattage?
Very great question. The Jackery 240 is limited on how much it can bring in. The question? Okay. She has a Jackery 240. Thank you. Call me out if I'm too quiet. I appreciate that. She has a Jackery 240, which is one that I'm very familiar with. Their 60-watt panel was the biggest panel that they recommended to use with that. And I don't believe it gets over like 40 or 50 watts max, even in the brightest sun, even at the biggest charge. Jackery's one of the slower charging ones. They're a great company, don't get me wrong, but they don't charge as fast as some of the others like Rockpals. So. Energy with an I think yeah. Okay. Okay. So she has an Energy Apex, and it's the newest one.
And I have an Apicool P60 refrigerator. And when I lost my phone.
I get it. I've been doing that all day. She has a refrigerator and an energy pack.
And when the energy pack gets down to 44%, which is about a little under 11 watts,
Okay.
it makes the refrigerator code out and quit working. Or
That's not good.
On television, and both of them are AC/DC.
Being a lithium power pack with a pure sine wave inverter, if that's what I believe it is, it should be able to provide the same amount of power all the way until it's dead. Have you tried contacting the company? And they haven't been very helpful, huh? Oh, sorry, I thought I said that, but I'll say it again. She has an energy power station with a refrigerator, a little refrigerator that she runs off of that. And when it gets down to 44%, it's not, her refrigerator gets an error message.
It gets an F1 code. When the generator gets down below 11 volts,
Okay.
it's not enough.
Apicool. I'm not real familiar with your station, but that doesn't sound like it should do that to me.
1100 watts.
Yeah, that's a big station.
It's only 25 pounds, so it doesn't take up a lot of space, and they've got it where you can charge it for 6 hours with a lighted plug or with the solar.
That's pretty quick for a big station like that too. And you said that something else wasn't working on it besides,
The volume of the television
and the volume of her television. That is,
down below 11 watts, and they say I need to plug
Okay, yeah, we don't.
And we run an inverter, it's got 1,500 watt, 1,500 watt, 3,000 watt service.
If you want to talk to me more after this, I'll try to help you figure this out, but that's definitely not right. These things should put out the same amount of power from the time they're fully charged until they're dead. Yeah, it's almost, I'm almost worried that it could be dangerous for your devices, so talk to me after all of this. Yes, sir. The price range for these units?
Let's do Q&A after.
Okay, I was just doing Q&A to stall for a minute because I didn't know what else to say. But if you got some more, let's go.
I was trying to still talk.
You got no more?
Well, I was doing
Come on,
Q&A.
Jim, you can talk all day.
I
Can you talk about off-gassing
can talk all day.
on PGM, AGMs, and the gels, and the lithium I heard does not have any off-gassing, and what kind of gas are they talking about?
It's sulfur, but that's not relevant to this presentation. So you could see me afterwards, but lithiums aren't going to off-gas. If your lithium is off-gassing, run for the hills. So that leads me into another subject here that I wanted to talk about the power stations, which is another major perk of these things. They are way safer than a lead battery setup. I don't care who installs it. These things are more temperature tolerant, they are warranted, they are not running at any kind of excessive limits. If you are worried about any kind of safety issues, these things have you covered. They have internal fault redundancies that they will not blow themselves up, despite what you may have seen on YouTube. So, what you really get with a lithium power generator is an all-in-one solution. I gave the basic solar this morning, but if I had to be honest, the most basic solar setup that you could have in 2020 is gonna be one of these Rockpals with, where's my MC4 adapter, Jimmy? Oh, it's up there. One of these Rockpals comes with one of these MC4 adapters right here, and you can plug that bad boy into any solar panel on the market that comes with MC4s, or put your own on there, and it works. And that's your solar setup. And actually, that's your solar setup for probably a lot cheaper than you could build it yourself. So if you're looking for a really easy, simple, safe solution that isn't going to go bad, that you're not going to be able to destroy, having a lithium power generator is really like having solar on training wheels. And when you're ready to take those training wheels off, you can take them off. You can literally take this thing and drag it around the desert if you want to. It'll go anywhere you want. In my Jeep, I have a static solar system that is then hooked up in line with one of these Rockpals, and all of my energy comes off the Rockpals because I time it so that my solar panel will charge up my battery first and then send all of the excess load off to the Rockpals, and then all of my usage draws off the Rockpals. So what that means is I'm going to get a heck of a lot extra time out of my crappy Walmart battery because I'm not using it. And I'm only using the surplus that I generate to power most of my appliances. So that is an example of a system that's buffered with lithium so that the components that I can't afford, like a Battleborn 100 amp hour battery, I only have a Walmart EverStart, so that crappy component is protected by a slightly better component. And that will enable you to really, really pick and choose when you use your energy, where your energy goes, and enable you to offload a lot of the damage that can be taken from the rest of your system by overstressing it. I totally lost my
I do that all the time. That's why we work together. We both like forget what we're saying and we just hand it off. So, earlier I got myself confused and I forgot to finish what I was saying about the kilowatt meter. That's a great thing about all of these devices that have displays on them, is they will teach you how many watts your devices are using. And as you learn that, you'll kind of learn more how much battery capacity you're going to need. You know, like I was saying with the heater, that's a 250 watt heater. you can see that it's really taking 250 watts, but it says that on the back. But a lot of our devices, we have no idea. I know that my TV takes between 23 and 28 watts because I can see it on my little Jackery thing. So that's what I forgot earlier.
That led me into my other point. See, this is why I love presenting with Jim. So what I was really talking about, my long story short with the Jeep, what these things enable you to do is to kind of build your system out like Legos, but at the same time to also have those basic needs fulfilled as you do it. Can't afford enough battery? Whatever. Use the lithium. Can't afford enough solar power? Whatever. Get a little generator or plug this guy into your vehicle and take a nice hour drive. You need a little bit more battery? You don't have to go buy out a new battery and wire it all in. Go buy one of these bad boys. Wire it up to your charge controller on the load side and have it charge it during the day. These can be used as fill-in pieces to your solar system that will enable you to go further with it, enable you to save money on it, and enable and prevent you from damaging components if you're not quite there yet. So, I think that's about what we got.
One last little.
One last little. There's always one.
Not really important, but I just love to point out how these companies are listening to us and trying to make things for us. I see you raising your hand. We'll get to you. When I started with Jackery, you can't stack them. So they listen, and now they make handles. It's just a little thing, but it really...
It's such a big...
Yeah, it's really a big
It's
thing.
such
You
a
can
big
stack them. If you have two of them, you can stack them together. And yeah, just little things like that.
That's such a big deal. I'm so glad you brought that up. It's such a big deal. And they put the charging ports on the back instead of the front. Like, I don't know what sort of asinine designer came up with the charging port on the front of this, but they snap off. But yeah, the square household appliance setup on those is amazing. Anyways, Q&A. I saw a hand go up real quick.
You said that you can stack those. Does that mean you can train them?
No, not necessarily, but if you're just talking about space saving.
You can kind of do that. Daisy chaining them is what you were asking? Yeah, so you can kind of do that, especially with the Rockpals. It's got a 74 watt pass-through. So anything that's drawing less than 74 watts of power will be able to run off the device while it's still charging. If it's more than 74 watts of power, it will drain the unit beyond what it can be charged at. That's specific to the Rockpals 300 watt. The smaller the unit, the smaller the charging. The larger the unit, the larger the charging. In general, but there is no standard.
Question on the practicality of hooking up one of the Jackeries or one of the units, lithium generator station, to a forced air heater that seems to be a big energy consumer in an RV.
Good luck. They are getting bigger and better all the time, but I agree those forced air heaters are a big drain on your propane and I love my Wave 3. I did a Mr. Buddy for years. I know that we're going off track here, but I just got a Wave and I love the Wave heater. Guy in the red, I promised you I'd answer a question.
Long-term storage. Should I top it off?
From what I understand, you want to store lithium batteries at about 70%? 50%. Yeah. So if you're going to store something a long time, not dead, not full, just like any lithium battery, you don't, they probably have a BMS, but you don't want to charge if it's freezing outside. It'll do it automatically.
It'll drain itself.
The computer in it knows what to do. I didn't know that. That's good knowledge.
My drone battery.
So, can you describe your setup again? So you have solar panels going to your Walmart battery, but now you have these lithiums to take the overload?
Yeah, so I only have a 100 amp hour battery, which gets charged very, very quickly by the 250 watt panel. And with lead batteries, you generally don't want to discharge them past 50%, so it's only kind of sort of usable. So what I do is, on a charge controller, one thing that's not typically talked about is the load circuit side of it, which is going to be that third set of contacts on it. And what that can do is run another power output, which then I will run to a DC port that is hooked into one of these power stations, and that, on a charge controller, typically you're able to time that, not on all of them, but on mine. So it will turn on during the day, and charge it automatically, and then it'll shut itself off at night. That's how I do that. And then any usage that I have is done off the lithium power pack first.
So, are you removing the lithium power packs and taking them and doing things, or are you just using those directly for all of the things that you plug into your Jeep?
Both.
Okay, both.
That's the coolest part about them, both. Usually one of them's like, this one kind of lives in my backpack, and the Rockpals kind of lives in my Jeep.
And are both of the power packs both connected to the DC?
Yeah, I get them off at DC because these, like I was talking about earlier in solar, these store energy as DC energy, so every conversion there's a loss. So it's better to go DC to DC than DC to AC back to DC, so.
Thank you very much.
Yep. Welcome. Next. Way back there? Oh,
I'm sorry.
Oh, no.
oh, are we doing it that way?
Yeah,
All right,
either
cool.
way works, but
All right.
since he's at the
You
microphone.
guys gotta fight to the death over it. No, come on up.
Yeah, form a line. Not trying to jump anybody here. Yes, line. Yeah, I was just wondering, so can you charge the 300 watt power pack from the 12 volt cigarette charge?
Absolutely, and that's how a lot of people do it. When you're going through the solar panel, it's still 12 volt. When you're plugging into your wall at your house, it's still converting it to 12 volt. That's one of the best ways to do it. In fact, even though I have the portable Rockpals panel and portable panel from one of the other companies, my main solar system is still on my house, and I do it a little differently. I drain my lead acid batteries down to about 70% every night, and then I switch over to my lithium pack so that it gets later into the night. I mostly use the lead acid during the day when it's getting a charge, and then a little bit into the evening. And I started talking, and I forgot your question. I'm sorry. Repeat your question.
Oh, I was
Sorry.
just wondering if you can charge it from your
Yes, so
cigarette
that's what I was getting at. Thank
later.
you.
Yeah.
That's how I do it on mine. I have a regular 300 watts on my house that go to two 6-volt lead acid batteries, and I have a cigarette lighter out. And in the daytime, unless I'm using a high draw in my house anyway, I'll just plug my power station into my 12-volt cigarette lighter. Or if you're on a long trip, you can plug it in while you're going down the road.
Right.
Or if you just want to idle, even.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thanks.
Thank you, this has been really interesting. I have a van, I'm a low power, low tech, stupid system kind of girl. I have a marine battery under my hood that's connected with a float to my starter battery, so it charges when I'm driving. And then I have a 110 watt solar panel with the clips on it, and when I park like out here, I just, charge it that way. I get more power than I need because I don't charge that much, but I can see that this would be really useful as a backup, like when it was cloudy for a few days the other day. So I have two questions. One, I get now that I could charge it with the 12 volts, but if I'm not using it regularly like you all, how well does it hold the charge if I want to store it and then pull it out when I need it?
Forever. So these will have intelligent charging circuits in them that will also discharge the battery. Typically, if you're not using it, I think the Rockpals is like a week or two, it'll start to slowly discharge itself to 50% because that's the best way to store it. But we're talking over 6 months, not like a week. Lithium itself inherently has like very little discharge on its own, maybe 1% per year, if that.
Okay, yeah, because that answered the other question, because he said it was best to store it at 50 to 70, so I thought I would want to store it fully charged, but it'll take care of that itself.
When we talk store it with lithium, we're talking more like 6 months to a year than a week.
Got it. And then, is there any way to charge it directly from the solar panel? All I got is the clips on it.
Yeah, so I got the adapter right here. This is the one that comes with the Rockpals. You can check it later if you want. This plugs directly into the back of the unit with the same DC charging port that you plug it into the cigarette lighter with. And on here, there's two MC4s. So this will literally plug into that panel I got sitting back there right out of the box, or any other brand.
But I just have clips on from my panel, like if you were charging a battery.
Oh, alligator clips. I thought you meant
Clips.
MC4s.
No, sorry,
is what
no, I
hear
told
these
you,
called.
low tech.
I mean, yeah, theoretically, it's just a red and a white, or a red and black wire, so you could just cut them off and wire it directly. If it was an alligator clip, what I would do at that point is probably put a DC socket end on it, and then you could just use the stock dongle off the lithium power generator. And
But I
plug it
use
right
the
in.
alligator clips to charge that marine battery directly.
Sure.
Under my hood.
So you can alligator clip those to a DC socket, right?
Oh, yeah, okay, gotcha, and then undo it.
Yeah, and then undo it. And then you don't have to modify
Or,
anything.
or charge it right off your battery, and then what I would do is hook that directly to your battery, and then that way everything will charge.
I didn't get through with the mic fast enough, sorry.
Hey, yeah.
I was gonna give it to you if you were
Yeah,
done
you want me
talking.
to get up here? I can do it.
You're my cameraman, thank you though. Everybody, Eric the goat guy is running my camera for me, he's awesome, check him out. And I have YouTube stickers for my channel later if you want them, not a whole bunch, but they're free. Next question.
Okay, how about jump starting my pickup truck with one
Not
of those?
with the little things that we brought. That was actually something I addressed earlier. There might be a way, yeah, I mean,
Not with the built-in circuitry, but you can certainly run a jump starter or a smart charger off of one of those.
So I'd have to charge up the jump starter, like the little thing you buy at Harbor Freight. It's got probably a AGM.
So we've got a little lithium jump starter here. Jimmy's pulling out. These are just more like a battery. It doesn't have a jump starter in there per se, but it has an AC plug, so you could plug it into a regular battery jump starter like you would plug into a house wall. That's what I would do. In my Jeep, if I went dead, I have a jump starter and I would just plug it into this.
So what is that little device you have there? For the-
this is a Tap Life jump starting pack, KP120. You can charge your phone with it. You can carry it around in your pocket. It has USB-C in and out. It also has the 3.0 charging ports and the flashlight. But it's basically a jump starting pack. It has a little computer built in there to let you know when you hook it up if you're safe to jump start, if everything's wired correctly, so you don't fry the jump starting pack and the battery. I've only actually used it once. I just got it like a week ago, and some guy with a motorcycle come over needing a jump start, and I didn't even know how to use it. And he's like, "Oh, I've used these before," and it was so simple. You just connect this to this. You don't even turn it on. You just connect the batteries, and it senses and it knows, and you turn the key, and it starts right up. And 10 years ago, we had those battery jump starting packs that were like the size of that box over there, and heavy lead acid batteries. They lasted 8 months, and then they were no good. People spend another $30 on it because it had an air compressor built in. But then when the battery's dead, it's no good. So technology is impressing us every day.
Is there any reason that they couldn't build that in?
Oh, they totally could if they really wanted to. It's a high output to turn over something like a large motor.
Well, basically what that thing does is it
Flashes in my eyes and blinds
basically
me.
what this thing does is have a thing in it to bring the voltage up. So basically what it does is it bring the voltage up over 12 volts to charge your battery faster. You could charge your car off of this, and it might take a little bit longer because it's not like a higher voltage going out, but it's like very much. This is more designed to give it like a higher voltage to start your car. Well, this would charge your a battery, but it would just take like you just gotta have a little bit more patience. You could probably because it's not really designed to do that.
Exactly. It's not designed to do that. Maybe if you plug like a trickle charger into the AC outlet, if it wasn't too much power and you let it go all day, but it's not going to do the high output. Oh. Not even going through AC on like an AC trickle charger. That's something like a battery, yeah. But they're not designed for that, but it's a battery. A battery will charge a battery if you really work it.
I really wouldn't ever count on it. Long story short, I would never count on it. It's not the intended design of the product. It would require a lot of extra circuitry and cost for them. They're power generators. I would think that jump starters will probably remain a separate thing indefinitely.
And that's why I brought this little one, because a lot of people don't know the difference, and I really wanted to show the difference to everybody. Suwaki? Does anybody know how we really say that? I believe it's Suwaki, but I've heard so many different, Suwaki, Suwaki.
But they have one that's also a jump starter.
Oh, they do?
It's like a 500 watt.
So in theory, it's a battery, but they're not designed for that, like he said, unless they are designed for it, until they are designed for it, yeah. So these girls have one, and so generally, they're not designed for it. We got a lot of questions and we're running short on time, so let's get to the next one. Did I answer the last one? Or you did? I don't know.
Okay, I have an answer to why your cooler goes off when you hit 44%, whatever that was. I can only tell you I have a Dometic and I have a Goal Zero lithium, but I talked extensively to the Goal Zero people, and what they said was the coolers are designed that when the voltage drops, they shut off so they don't suck your car battery dry when you're running on your car. And so these lithium batteries are real efficient, and they fluctuate the voltage, so when the voltage drops, even though you have enough power, enough amperage, the cooler shuts off. And so you just use the AC outlet instead of the DC. But if you want, you can buy a cord for $50 that regulates the voltage so it doesn't shut off. That's what they
Well, I
said.
guess that refrigerator is going through the DC.
Yes, and that's why it shuts off,
Was
because
hers going through DC also? Okay,
Right.
that makes sense.
so what I
I
do
was
is I
confused
just
earlier.
right. So I just run mine off the AC plug,
Thank you for
and then I don't
clarifying
have that
that.
problem anymore.
So we've got a line building, and I got another presentation in about 20 minutes, so.
Just a real quick comment on that Apercool.
Yes.
It's in the Chinese chipset, and it's set to 12.5 volts. Oh, I'm sorry. So the Apercool and various other Chinese knockoffs have a battery protect mode on them.
Okay.
And it's by default set to 12.5 volts. I had to change mine to 11.5 volts. If you look at the manual, you can change it. And then the next step down is 9 volts. What is a safe discharge voltage is the question.
It's a safe discharge voltage. Well, these won't let you discharge
Before
them.
it'll shut off. You know, it's designed.
It'll shut itself
It's
off.
designed to run in a car.
It depends on the unit, they're all designed a little differently, but they'll shut themselves off safely. But thank you guys for clarifying that. I was
The desktop computer with a 30-inch TV, how would I figure that out?
Depends on the size of the computer. So in general, I'm going to say no, especially if you're looking at like a gaming computer or media desktop. You know how computer power supplies have wattage ratings, and they're like the 5, 6, 800? You're looking at maybe 300 watts out of this thing. So it's probably going to be way out of its league. An office desktop, maybe. But the way that you would find that out is look at the tags on the back of the appliance, and this any appliance you can do this with, and it will say what the maximum theoretical power draw of that appliance is. So take all of your appliances, add them up, look at your power station that you're getting, and it'll tell you what the inverter size is on that. And if your draw number is lower than the inverter size number, you're good. If it's higher, it's going to shut itself off.
And that's the great thing about the little meters I was talking about earlier. They have like a kilowatt meter built in. When you plug in your device to most of these with a digital display, it's going to tell you how many watts your device is taking, and that helps you do that calculation. Thank you.
Okay, real quick with the Sawakis.
Yes.
I have one, I've got the 500 one,
Okay.
and they say you can do it, they give you the cord for it, but they say you gotta only do small cars. I still wouldn't trust it on a small car, even though the manufacturer says it's designed for that sort of thing, and
Yeah.
it's only Sawakis. I honestly,
It probably doesn't put out enough output to turn over a large starter is all
No,
that
it
is.
says don't do it.
Oh,
It says nothing more
Don't
than 4
even try it.
cylinders, don't even try, because you'll wreck the battery.
gotcha.
Okay, but anyhow, the question I actually came up with here, I've got a mystery problem with my Sawaki. This is a Chinese model, and I don't, it's with a cigarette lighter. I think it's not outputting the full voltage or something, because when I first started with my refrigerator, I've got a very small refrigerator. It's a compressor, one. Anyhow, it wouldn't run.
The problem with a lot of these cigarette lighter plugs is they're not the best designed for a connection, and sometimes you just gotta clean the inside. But we'll try to do more diagnostic questions afterwards if you guys
Okay.
wanna come ask us, but we're kinda just going for more general questions.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, is, by the way, does the voltage drop in it as the
Bring it by.
battery goes down?
If you bring it by, I can give you an actual measurement.
Thanks.
I have a Vitamixer blender that I'd love to bring on the road with us, but I don't know that my solar will
I
charge
normally
it.
bring
but-
a magic bullet blender out here to show people that it runs off this, cause it's just kinda, you gotta go.
Which one?
I have
Which one would I
the
buy?
basic magic bullet, and I run that on the Jackery 240. As you go larger, some of these have a higher draw, and you wanna have
1,500 watts.
1,500 watts. I don't think that's gonna work on any of these.
None of them?
Not now. Maybe the big ones like the Kodak or that Blue Eddy I was hearing about. Or
The EcoFlow 1300.
EcoFlow 1300?
Yeah.
Okay. How big is the EcoFlow 1300? You know, the inverter size?
Oh, I don't know. I
But you know it'll run it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
have two, and I actually charge in my car at night.
Nice.
Drainage problem, so it's actually, and it only takes an hour to charge.
She's saying she has 2 of them in her car. It only takes an hour to charge and it works for her blender. Through AC? Nice, nice. And hers is 1,500 with 3,000 watt surge, so that would easily run that. So you just got to get one of the bigger ones. None of the ones we have on stage right now would do the bigger, but they will all easily do the little magic bullet.
Hey, thank you. I have a Tacoma 260 watt panel and 2 batteries, and I want to know if I can charge those batteries when I have low sun, if I can charge them while I'm driving from the car battery, and will it hurt the car battery? Now, I have an inverter on the truck. It comes with the Tacoma, right? And one plug. And I plug my charger into that and try and charge the batteries as I'm driving, or as the engine's running. I get 400 watts out of it. But it shuts itself off. I mean, it runs for a little while. If I'm just, start the truck and idle it, it'll run it. And it'll charge the battery. But if I'm driving, it won't stay on, because it needs the juice for it. So I don't know if there's another way, like going through the trailer light maybe, and hook it up to my batteries to where I'm charging those while I'm driving. Yeah.
It's called a battery isolator. It's a little, if I understand your question correctly.
You're talking about charging your power generator, not another lead battery, right?
I'm charging 2 sealed batteries.
Sealed, okay.
Sealed lead batteries.
Sealed,
AGM, that's a
AGM.
type of lead battery.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want what they call a battery isolator device. That's not really what this presentation is about, but remember battery isolator, and it controls your alternator so it gives the right amount of juice to all your batteries, including your main engine battery and your house batteries.
Well, would I have to run separate wires right up to the alternator, or can I go through the trailer light jack?
Yeah,
You run it from the battery or from the alternator?
You run it from the battery or the alternator.
It just seems like the
instructions would be in
a
the.
good thing to do if you don't have sun.
No, it's a great idea. It's just, yeah, we're focusing on the portable power stations, but we don't mind helping, so.
You keep discussing lithium batteries.
Yes, sir.
But there are various types of lithium.
Yes, different chemistries, and that also affects charge rate a little bit.
So, which chemistry are we dealing with?
Lithium polymers.
Lithium polymers.
Okay.
Most power generators will be LiPo4.
Okay. I have a lithium iron.
Be quick.
So, basically, how much are these setups compared to like a conventional setup where you have an inverter and a lead acid battery, and how much do these cost? Because a lot of people ask how much do they cost, and then how much they cost compared to a conventional lead acid setup.
That's really a great question, and I'm glad you reminded me. You could build your own for cheaper if you have the ability to do so. Most of us don't, some of us do, but even if we do, it's still a kind of a complicated process to get it all in a nice, tight little package like this. They range in price. You can start out at under $200, and you can go all the way up to $1,000. It all depends on what brand you want, how good of quality, how good of a warranty, what kind of batteries they're using, whether it's a pure sine wave inverter or not. Most of them are now, though. So yes, thank you. That's a great question.
I'm going to say it's cheaper. Kind of went over that a little bit earlier, but if you go amp hour for amp hour and you count size per size on every single component, I would challenge any of you to give me a combination of 18 hours of battery with a 300 watt pure sine wave inverter, a built-in charge controller, an LED monitor, and a plastic case for $250. It's not out there. If it is, please let me know. See me after this. I'd love to know. But no, you literally cannot build it as cheap yourself in a conventional solar setup as if you were to buy one of these and pair it with a solar panel. It'll be cheaper every time.
question once you were talking about the gaming computers. I've got a gaming laptop, and I know it takes about, I think it's at 122 watts to charge, and it charges in an hour, so it's super fast. And it's lasting anywhere from 4 to 6 hours, depending on how much I'm working. And so I usually have to charge it at least 3 times in a day, sometimes only twice. And I'm wondering which one of those would be the best with something that draws so much power, since it's bigger than a regular laptop. What size would I need?
That's actually not too bad of a draw. 122 is all right. The bigger's the better, but if you're using it during the daytime and you have one with pass-through and you're connected to solar, you can probably stretch it out.
Connected to anything yet. That's why I was just looking to get one of the, like I've got a 100-watt panel is all I've got right now. So
Yeah.
I can get more.
Yeah, that's like I was saying about the 500 too. It could give us a time estimator. Like after my prospecting thing, or maybe if he wants to, you could bring it over later. We could even find out how many hours it would give you off the 500.
I don't have one yet. That's why I was wondering what I should buy.
My 250 watt heater will go. My Xbox, which runs between 50 and 70 watts, I can get probably 4 or 5 hours on it off the smallest one. Not the smallest, not the 160, but I have a 240 at home. Yeah, so probably I would suggest the 500.
And yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking. The
Yeah.
$100 ones. Also, are those? Could you use them while they're charging? Because I don't
Yes.
have another battery.
Not all of them,
I haven't
though.
done my setup at all. I just all I
There
have
are
is
some that are not designed to be used while they're charging, which is kind of a bummer. But all the ones we have up here today can definitely be, and many, and even the Jackery, and many of the others can. But yes, all these Rockpals, not all the Rockpals, but the 300, the 540 absolutely can.
And how many? Do you think I could get several charges off of it, like during the day while it's going? Because like I
Well,
normally
you're
go use it at
charging-
night, so I wouldn't need to charge it again for overnight.
Yeah, it takes a while to charge, but you can use it while you're charging. So you'll deplete your battery slower.
Okay. And what if I add like one of the refrigerators, like the 12 volt or whatever they are? I don't have a refrigerator yet either. Something that's a constant draw.
It depends on how much draw there is from the refrigerator, but most of us who are using those electric refrigerators, we turn them off at night. So it's not really a constant draw. And they get themselves up to a cold point, and then they kick themselves off if it's a good refrigerator. So it helps. I've heard that some of the, I think it's the new Dometics. Somebody was just telling me the other day about these refrigerators that just barely suck the juice. Actually, I don't know, sorry. It's a
And one more question and I'm done. I'm trying to decide which one to buy, but I think I'm going to get Rockpal now. Is a 100-watt panel enough to start me off until I can get another one? Will that be able to charge one of these if I get like at least 300 watts?
Yeah,
The
yeah.
100-watt should? Okay. All right. Thank you guys.
He charges his off of a 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Hi, I'd like to preface my question by putting some ideas out here, what I was thinking about. This is, given the greater demand for lithium ion and for cars, and it's growing, and limited sources for lithium out there in the world, do you expect the prices for these things to go up or go down?
Absolutely go down. They're already going down. I'm seeing it every year. The models get better, the things they can do get better and better, and the price just drops and drops. Lithium in general is going to drop quickly in the next few years, and then they're going to turn around and come out with something better, probably. Hopefully.
Thank you very much.
How's it going?
Pretty
I'm
good.
Caveman.
Hi, Caveman.
I have a small compressor, and for about 2 seconds it pulls 600, and then it goes down to 90.
We ran a Harbor Freight big compressor off a Jackery 240 at the Overland Expo, so you should be able to run a fairly decent sized compressor off almost any of these.
That's my question, if there's a temporary
Oh, you said
surge,
600 watt. I didn't hear that.
600 watts.
Yeah.
I think the Rockpals is 305.
This, I'm not sure either.
Usually it's not quite double. It'd be like 90%, 80% more, like 180% surge. So I think the Rockpals, for example, is like 300, 450 or 300, 500.
Yeah, I found a 580, and I thought, man, that's probably close enough.
Probably not. Probably not. Most of them, again, like Jimmy was saying earlier with the charging, they'll err on the side of caution. So a lot of times, even if it says like 300 surge, it won't be 300. It'll cut off at like 280.
But part two, what's the biggest one of these I can possibly buy on the market?
I think the Kodiak makes them up to 1,500 or 2,000 now. You can definitely get one big enough. I don't know if the Rockpals would be big enough. If you have it on you, I'd be happy to try. Break my Rockpals, guys.
Okay.
my question is, who was the guy that was talking about lowering the, change the voltage or the amperage or something on the thing? I need to talk to him. Raise your hand, where you at? Help!
Changing or lowering the amperage or the voltage on the thing. On the refrigerator. We have 2 requests for that person. No? No? More questions?
Well, I think they were saying
we have a surprise here, guys. We are going to be giving one of these Rockpals away.
What? Woo!
It's basically brand new. We just opened it here to show you. But yes, this is the 300 watt Rockpals unit. Seth has the same one in his rig. It's a really great unit. We also have discount flyers over here with a code if anybody's really interested. So how are we going to do this? Pick a location. Okay, Seth has already picked the location, so we'll blame it on him if it's not you.
Yeah, I guess you guys can just blame it all on me. It's going to be the person that's closest to the center of that bleacher. So, I don't know. Where is the exact center? I think it's teal shirt, actually. I think it is. What do you think?
I think so. He's walking over, so we got a winner.
Oh my God!
It's gonna make them all run.
Don't we all wish we was you?
Then I thought they might step over each other. So.
Chaos at the RTI.
Okay, so I also have some more fun goodies. If any of you guys like them, Tread Lightly is an organization I have personally been affiliated with for a long time and care about very deeply. They also care about us very deeply. They are one of the only national and international organizations that lobbies for us. They lobby to keep public lands open. They lobby for recreation off-road. And they have very, very, very generously provided some materials, some water bottles, some stickers. They have a whole box of goodies that they sent us. Again, their name is Tread Lightly on Land and Water. They are people that preach trail ethics and also lobby the government to keep trails open. I would highly encourage you guys to check them out, and if you want some free goodies or stickers or water bottles, there is a bunch of cool stuff up here. Come on down. I think that's it. I don't think I can get yelled at if you shut it off.
Alright, everybody, please like, subscribe, and share. This is Happy Camper, everybody. I'm Eric the Goat Guy. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to keep in turn with all the stuff we are doing. And if you guys have any questions on the live stream, after the people here answer their questions, maybe we can get you guys. But make sure you guys like, subscribe, and share.
You know about the solar and things?
I know a little bit. What can I help you with? I don't know as much about these boxes as them, but I know a little bit about solar panels.
I don't know if I need it or if I need to have it to have something to do a triple charge for the batteries. How do I know what I need to look for to get? Does that make sense?
So are you saying you need a charge control? So what you need to do is we need the solar setup, you need a solar panel, a charge control. And the charge control, what it does is you have your battery charged correctly, and that's called a charge control. That will also trickle charge, keep your battery charged at the right amount, for maintaining the, whatever you call the self-charging or whatever, phantom charge.
So if I need to get something for, and I don't know, I know there was a need for it this winter.
So how are you saying how big of a solar panel you need to maintain?
No, this is just to keep the batteries topped off if they should not have solar.
Okay.
There's no sun.
You need to do one thing. You either need a sun one or a plug-in one, which both will work because it's all I do is maintaining non-exposure. Even if you have no sun, like cloudy days or whatever, if someone still works. But if you're in a garage where you never have any sun, it's just a regular charger.
Right, but so I mean, what does it need to, because I think they had it set for 3 amps, and they were just going down to 25 and 30%.
Basically, you need like a, yeah, so you just need a 3 amp charger.
Yeah, but they kept going down. They didn't. Even though they were on the 3 amp charger, unless they didn't have it connected properly.
Well, then they might be having a bad battery, or it might not be connected.
So, the only thing I really need to know is that it's
or you have other things draining the battery. That's not. I mean, what do you have draining the battery?
okay, well, no, in this particular case, they had connected us to a 240 watt volt, everything was generator, which blew out stuff. So, when they gave us a new generator, I just had a cord, extension cord brought in to wire connects and stuff. My batteries, it destroyed my,
Are you doing the next seminar? I think the next seminar is at 2 o'clock. Yes, and it's over there. And it's over there where the truck is over there.
can I ask you, or do I need to ask him?
I know a little bit, but I don't know a lot.
Which one of these would I need to run a CPAP?
I have no idea. I could tell you, just basically that, but from what I understand from watching the presentations, is that you need to know how many voltage it is, and then also amp hours. So you gotta look up amp hours. In here, you gotta look up amp hours. So how many amp hours?
Look on the back of the machine for that, right?
Well, amp hours. So hours. So hours. So how many hours you have one time you have. So let's say if they want 1 amp, and then you look up how many amp hours, and that's how many hours you got. So then you gotta times that by let's say it's let's find one. Okay, this is 25 amp hours. So that's can run. So let's run 5 amps for 5 hours.
Okay.
So if your thing will need 5 amps so how many amps? So a CPAP machine, I don't know how much power that uses. But you gotta look at, and then instead of using a CPAP machine, I would definitely get something that overestimate and underestimate. I've seen people actually run probably. So if you think of, if you probably so like 5 amps. This is 5 amps at 50 volts. So this one is actually probably I recommend maybe the 50 amp hour one. Just because.
Can I set this safely on the couch?
Yeah, these are really safe. They're pretty much the same thing as these phone batteries you got, except for they just bigger. You have ever used these power juice things? They pretty much the same thing as this, except for.
And that battery charger they were talking about, $39 at
Yeah.
the store Walmart.
Yeah,
that man, when he walked away.
They pretty much what these are is just like a big one.
Are you talking about
These things are pretty much just like a big one of these, kind of basically. You know, that have an inverter built in. They pretty much did one of these with an inverter built in and all the whole package built in. And from what I understand, and see these have and so they're pretty safe. As long as they don't get crushed or damaged, you can have them pretty much on your couch, in your bed. You can probably snuggle with it. I wouldn't recommend snuggling with it because you wouldn't want to break the cords or unplug it. You know, but
I'm just going to ask you
my name is Eric the Goat Guy.
Eric the Goat Guy.
The goat. I have ability.
Oh, you're the goat guy?
Yes.
You have that jacket too? Is that
Yeah,
you with
yeah.
the jacket? Oh, see you over under him.
And then also, and then
Thank you.
so
I also, a lady, I wanted to ask you also. I bought one of the things they just talked about, the EverStart.
yeah.
I have the Prius. I'm over there. I buy the Prius.
Yeah, the Priuses are fun.
But I wanted to be able to make my nutritional drinks that I make.
Well, like I said, you got to look. Well, then you don't have to worry about amp hours. You more want to worry about total voltage, total amp. So you gotta look at how many
So it's a
amps are.
300 amp, and I've got two. I bought two of them because I didn't know.
Because
which
you
one.
only needed one for 5-10 minutes, right? So
Yeah,
so
a
you
minute
just
at a
need,
time, basically.
and you just pretty much want to find one that can handle the amount of amperage you have. Which, depending on how big your blender, if you have a 1500 watt blender, then you need a 1500 watt system.
300. I got I bought the 400 one.
Okay, then if you need something that can handle 400 watt output.
Okay, so I have a 300. So I thought you had to leave like a certain amount in the case of a.
Where you have one of the pamphlets? Go get one.
Oh yeah, I do. It's in my thing. The paper. Oh no, I don't have one of those pamphlets.
So basically, this. Okay, I'm looking. Let me look. You just have to
Am I
read.
looking? Or you're looking
You
at
gotta
this?
read the things and So I don't know. Somewhere on here it says how much the output is. Okay, so that says a 500 watt. So the output. So this one is the output is 500. So your thing is 400. So this one could do a 500.
So if I have a
Until you
400. If I do a 300, with the power surge, I should be fine. Just in case of charge.
What if you do?
Somebody's telling me
Well, you
about
need.
the power surge thing.
Well, you,
So I went out and bought the 750 too.
So you should get the 500 one, but it's nice because you can charge up the car and you can charge up the solar.
Yeah, that's
Probably way more than it's probably twice as expensive as this one because trust me, amp hours in that one. But you know.
And where do you get these folders?
Over there. You can probably look on the website. That's probably what I would do if I were you. Just go to the website.
But what I'm saying is I already bought these two, and they're not lithium, but they're you can put it in the car. They're EverStart. So they're ones that they have at Walmart.
Yeah. I mean the 500
I mean, it's like
one.
it's a year,
Well, it's the 300 one is pretty much the kind of one that they very much anything, other maybe charging your computer and charging your phone and just basic things.
Yeah, the only thing is the one that I bought.
And then if you actually seriously want to use it for like refrigerators and appliances,
No, that's a
and probably get the 500 one.
500 one.
If you actually really do need it for, I mean, the one
No, this is just for the Prius. This is just for blender, and
if you want to use
cell
it,
phone.
if you want a blender or actually using the thing.
It's a Nutrient blender. It's like the bullet.
I recommend getting the big one.
Okay. The thing I don't like about the big one is you have to attach it directly to the battery. The Prius, the battery's in the back, and it hits my mattress.
You don't have to attach. You can always charge off the cigarette lighter.
No, not on this one. On the 750 one.
Well, you can always get an adapter to plug in probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, where would I go to get an adapter? Like AutoZone or something?
Yeah, probably.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate it.
I
You
mean,
still
I don't
have a
know.
question? Yeah.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Whenever you're done. Thank you.
But I'm not really too sure about these. Like, I never really worked with these things before.
Right.
I a little bit. I'm just like trying to answer people's questions.
I know. That's why I went to you. You're available.
Because I'm available.
Yes, and I appreciate it.
And because I'm not like I never really.
I love your coat, by the way.
I never owned one of these before. I like I'm pretty much know how to read this. Which is
That's better than I do.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Eric.
Do you happen to know if you can charge one of these without having the car running?
I don't know. I don't really
Because
know.
you can do your cell phone, it'll charge without the car running, but I didn't know if any of these batteries would charge without the car running.
But the thing is, you just gotta be careful because if this thing have more needs more, this thing is bigger than your car battery.
Let's say 300 watt. You know.
Yeah, well, you could charge it with your car running, but you run in the danger of carrying your battery in your car.
Oh, really?
Because unless you have a bigger battery in your car than you do than this thing.
Yeah.
Or you could just. I mean, or depends. Like depends if you were just. I mean, you could charge it. You could leave it charged. I mean, it would charge why would they leave it charging overnight or leave it charged for hours and hours without your car running? Because you're going to run the risk.
I wonder at what point you would know whether it's going to discharge your battery, your car battery. That would be hard to say.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that, like, I would just unplug it when you actually leave the car. If you plug it in during the day while you're doing your errands and stuff, it'd probably be okay. But once you get to work, once you go in, you can go to sleep, I'll unplug it.
Yeah, like we have a Yeti 1000, and it won't even charge when the car's not running. It won't even charge. So it knows better. I guess it knows it shouldn't do that.
And which is.
But I'm wondering if one of these 300 watts would.
It might charge when the car's not running.
Yeah.
It might not be that smart to know that the car ain't running, but like at the same time, you are running with these big old battery units. You are running into you might kill the battery.
Chances of draining my battery. Yeah, that makes sense. But I just wondered at what wattage would I be? Should I be afraid of doing it? Rick or somebody maybe later in ask. Maybe because they know all about the Rockpals.
Yeah, I never actually own these, and I have a lot of questions.
Yeah.
But about them, should I buy one? Is how much do they really cost?
We just looked them up. 300 watt was like $149.
Okay, really?
We just looked them up while we were sitting there.
Okay, so do you answer my question? The little one is 300 watt, it's $149.
Yeah.
And how much is the big one?
We didn't look that one up.
No.
What is the watts?
It's
What's the watt? 540 watts?
so it's probably $300-$400.
500.
Yeah, the Rockpals. Look up Rockpals.
I actually recommend people getting the bigger one if they actually tend to put the solar panels.
Rockpals.
I mean, I'm hoping.
Rockpals. Lithium batteries.
Hey, what's up? All right, hey.
Thank you so much. Is this still going?
I think so.
Do you want to walk over to the gold prospecting one?
No, we're going to have to start a new stream.
Oh, okay.
So,
Good
hey,
idea.
we are going to start a new stream, so thank you guys.
Thank you, Eric, the goat guy, filming for me. You guys need to go sub to him. He's a cool dude.
Eric, the goat guy right here. And, yeah, we're going to start a new stream once we go over there. That's exit out the stream because you don't have to rename it.
Yep, you're right. And people can watch two separate ones. How do I end this? They got all my stuff on the dolly. Let's get over here. They're waiting for...
Right here, let me show you the X right there.
Oh, yeah. They're waiting for me.
Okay.